Car story time. The past couple of years, we've been a little worried about our car. I got it in 2012 before I moved from St. Louis, and it's done us well. And I was glad I got a car that wasn't the tiniest thing in the world, in case you might actually have a car seat back there, and we did. But I think the last year of its life, it was like two car seats and two adults was a lot. And we tend to take a big trip to Michigan every year, or almost every year. And that car barely made it through that. Like, we were driving back through Chicago, and the car was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I got alarming alarm lights on, and I'm making all kinds of weird noises. And please don't die in the middle of Chicago traffic in this 8-lane superhighway. That would be very bad. So it made it through that. It started having a lot more trouble afterwards. We replaced a bunch of stuff, but it was just getting to a point where it was like we just stopped traveling with it entirely. So, like, you drive around town with it, but we didn't like go outside of the, not the city limits, but outside of the little metro. We didn't go to like 2 hours north to a city or anything like that. So there was some times where we didn't really visit family because we were like, I don't know if we're gonna like be stranded on the side of the road and nowhere southern Illinois and just be stuck there. So we saved up some money, waited for the tax return season last year in order to have as big of a down payment as possible. And we figured it would be an SUV. It quickly became obvious that a large SUV was not going to happen. We couldn't do, like, I'm trying to remember some of the vehicles I was looking at, but Sorento, maybe like a Kia Sorento was just not gonna, it's just gonna be too much. So we ended up looking at like the smaller class of SUVs and eventually settling on something we really liked that drove really well, that had an extra third row of seats available if your tiny human offspring had tiny human friends, maybe you could throw them back there. So we ended up going with a Mitsubishi Outlander. I forget the designation of it, but in that regard, we also ended up spending a little more than we wanted to. We ended up with a color that Camerawoman liked, with the features that Camerawoman liked. Camerawoman got a little bit of a part-time job in order to make up the difference, and it's worked out pretty well. Like how it drives. It's got eco mode to help save gas mileage and gas usage that we tend to use pretty often. There's times where, like some of our Michigan vacation places, there's a really big hill, and we don't use eco mode on that one. We need the normal mode, but I like it. It drives well. It drove a lot better than any of the other things I test drove. Handling was just way better. So we ended up going with that. We also ended up getting the extended warranty because when we're buying the car, my kids are like in the office, we're doing the paperwork, and there's just like an unclosed water bottle. And like the whole time they're just like threatening to like knock it over and just cause chaos in there. And I was like, yeah, you're talking about all the electronics in this car that could be ruined at any time that you would want the extended warranty for, and these two are a tornado in your office while you are explaining it. It was like the best advertisement for the product he was trying to sell. So we did end up doing that. We didn't need gap insurance apparently because our down payment was enough, but the amount of time it's going to take on the car loan was way longer than I wanted. So the plan is essentially with each tax return, we're going to put a chunk of money down on the principal of the loan. So hopefully I think in that regard, we would turn what was a pretty long loan into like a 6-year loan or something, which feels better. Feels a lot better than the original loan we were paying. It is weird when you start driving it around and you're like, oh man, we've already got so much mileage on it. And then you're like comparing how much mileage, how how much mileage you would put on it after a certain period of time, and you're like, oh yeah, no, that is a reasonable amount. Like my old car is here and it's lasted this. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But we are down to one car again though, because that car that we were worried about driving places eventually got worse enough that we were worried about driving it anywhere. So we got to a point where we were like, we'll turn it on once in a while in the driveway and get that going, and then you get busy with enough times, and then the car's like, well, I'm not turning it on at all anymore because you didn't run me enough. And then you're like, fine, fine, I know I caused this, but also we didn't think you were safe to drive. So how often were you going to drive? And we officially took it off of car insurance. So I'm sure eventually we will scrap the car or do whatever. I don't know who would want to buy a car that doesn't run anymore at this point in time, but I knew it wasn't going to be long. I knew that car was going to be offline eventually, but I guess it lasted me 13 years. Feels like it should have lasted more. Camerawoman had one pretty extensive repair job on the turbo. Which apparently was not an easy thing and not something she could get many mechanics to do, so she just kind of did it herself with the help of a family friend, I guess. And it got to a point where this one we just couldn't repair it ourselves, and it didn't make sense to keep spending the money on repairs. Money went towards the new car, but it did us well, and I'm sure eventually we will get it out of our driveway. But new car is doing well. I now am that person with the really annoying white light beams, which I always hated, but I guess I am that jerk now.